Hey everyone, Chris of Midlife Crisis Media here. Welcome to the next episode of my Film Collection 2024 live streams. Today, we're talking about more of my standalone Blu-ray collection, just a single movie per case kind of thing. And everything today starts with the letter C. I'm going alphabetical through my collection. First, we're going to go through all the Blu-rays, then we'll go through all the 4Ks. Today is, I don't know why my collection is very front of the alphabet heavy. Like last week, I had a ton of movies that started with the letter B, mostly because I have a ton of movies that have Batman in the title. A lot of those are because of the DC animated movies. I have a ton of them, and a lot of them, I want to say a good 25% of them focus solely on Batman in some capacity. So, yeah, but today, when I stacked up all of these movies that start with the letter C, I'm just like, wow, why do I have so many movies at the front of the alphabet? I don't know. Whatever. So, let's get into it. So, I'm going to do a short description of the film, followed by if I have any thoughts or memories of said film. Who's here today? Anyone watching so far? I can't really tell. I keep on forgetting to do this though. Why do I do these streams? It's not to brag. There's 4 reasons. It's good content for the channel, keeps it alive, and I want to keep the channel alive as long as I can. Because of number 2, it is fun. Number 3, I get to talk to awesome people while I do these live streams. It's part of the fun. And 4, it's good to have a visual representation of everything you have in your collection, just in case something bad happens. But I won't say it aloud because I don't want to curse myself. But it's good to have everything laid out so you can say, hey, I had all these things. It was in my hand. Give me my money back. So let's get into it with the C's. We're going to start off with one of my favorite comedies of all time, and that is Caddyshack. I'm not a big Chevy Chase fan. Even when I used to watch SNL back in the day when he was on, I always found him to be very, I guess, arrogant and kind of aloof. I don't know. I think he can be funny. I think he's funny here. But for the most part, I don't find him very entertaining to watch because he just has this like air about him that I don't like. But the rest of the cast is fantastic. You got Bill Murray, who was actually feuding with Chevy Chase while they were filming this because there was like famously they got into a fist fight behind the scenes of SNL when Chevy Chase came back to guest host, and I guess he made some sort of a really nasty comment toward Gilda Radner, and Bill Murray was very protective of her, and he basically jumped over a table to punch him in the throat. But you also have Rodney Dangerfield, who I absolutely love. That guy is beyond funny. And also, and I can never remember this dude's name, Ted Knight, who used to be on Benson, I do believe. But you also have Michael O'Keefe. Yeah, Michael O'Keefe. I cannot remember. And definitely because, it's me. We got Cindy Morgan from Tron playing Lacey Underall, it was Ted Knight's niece or something. But this is basically a comedy that takes place at a country club golf course, and it follows around a lot of the caddies, but it also follows around Chevy Chase, who lives on the property, apparently. I don't know why. And also the rich folk that go there, and like how it's also kind of like got this class warfare thing kind of going on, the poor caddies versus the rich golfers kind of thing. And Rodney Dangerfield is kind of the in-between. Like, he's rich, but he still acts like he didn't forget where he came from. So he loves all of the caddies, and he treats everyone really nice, but he kind of has a real disdain for the snooty rich types. And it is really, really funny. And then there's also a beaver puppet that just pops up randomly, and Bill Murray tries to drown it. But I absolutely love it. It has some of my favorite lines that I still quote to this day. Most of them come from Rodney Dangerfield when he goes to that dance, that dinner and dance thing at the country club. I want to say pretty close to the halfway point, and he's ragging on Ted Knight's wife, and he goes to dance with her, and she's an older woman, and he kind of goes, "Hey, baby, you must have been something before electricity." And then he's talking at a dinner table to a bunch of his friends, and while he's talking, he rips ass, and everybody just kind of stops to look at him and goes, "What? Did somebody step on a duck?" It's just, I don't know, but it just cracks me up. I absolutely love it. I put out a list on Facebook a few years back, and it was like, what are the 5 movies that you watch when you're in a bad mood and you want to cheer yourself up? And I put that out on Facebook, and I put my picks, and Caddyshack is number 1. Anytime I'm just kind of bummed or depressed or whatever, I'll put like one of these 5 movies I talked about there, and that is one that will always put a smile on my face. So there you go, people that are watching. What are the 5 movies that you watch when you're kind of bummed or a little sad or whatever and need some cheering up? What movie would you put on to cheer yourself up, if there is such a thing for you? So next up, we have some Marvels. And what could that be? I don't know, maybe Captain America? So I have all 3 of the Captain America films in 3D. This is the original Captain America, the First Avenger. I think it's kind of funny that they felt the need to put the First Avenger in the subtitle, because I think that in order to market this to like foreign territories, they didn't want to have America in the title. We're awesome kind of thing, because it might turn people away. So they're like, it's just his name, but he is the First Avenger, just so you were aware. It's not like some weird propaganda machine. But yeah, this is Chris Evans' first movie in the MCU, and I'm not a huge fan of it. My buddy Jeremiah, that I do my podcast with, the movie is starting, Captain America is his favorite superhero, and he absolutely loves this movie in the franchise. And I'm just kind of like I said, okay with it. The first 30 minutes I think are good when you have scrawny, Jesus, I can't remember his name now. Steve Rogers. Why was I drawing a blank? I don't know. When you have scrawny Steve Rogers, I think it's okay. And, he wants to go to war, but he's too skinny. He's weak. I think he actually is kind of sick. And the recruiters won't take him, so he ends up volunteering for this procedure that actually turns him into Captain America, who is heavily muscled and is super fast and super strong and super agility and all that kind of stuff, and turns into the first big superhero. The thing is, once you get to that point, it turns into an Indiana Jones movie, and they even copy action scenes out of Indiana Jones movies, like the whole motorcycle chase is right out of The Last Crusade. And they don't really, I don't think, build up what the Tesseract is and what it can do in this one. They just talk about, it's so powerful, we need to have it because it's going to win us the war kind of thing, and we're going to power our weapons with it. But it's what is it actually? Because when the Red Skull grabs it at the end and it just evaporates him, it's okay, what was that then? Because it felt like an Indiana Jones ending. Like the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they, the bad guys look into the Ark and their faces melt and their heads explode. Kind of thing. It's I vaporize. And then you find out what happened to him later on in one of the Avengers movies. But I just think it's I'm not a fan of Joe Johnston, the guy who directed this. I think he's kind of like a studio hack. He's the guy you hire when you can't find anybody else, but you do need somebody to follow the rules that you need to set, and they're not going to try to stray too far off of what you want them to do. He's the guy you call. And he basically did that. He made a very generic, I feel, superhero movie. Although I do really like Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, and her relationship with Steve is great. And I also love Sebastian Stan as Bucky. I think he has a great relationship with Steve as well. But for the most part, I just think the story and everything else is just kind of generic. But that does not apply for The Winter Soldier, the sequel. I went into this one with very low expectations because, like I just said, I was not a big fan of the first Captain America movie. But this one obviously has jumped forward in time because that takes place during World War II. Captain America's taking on Nazis and Red Skull. And in this one, it's modern day, 2013 modern day. And Captain America ends up finding out that S.H.I.E.L.D., the organization that he's working for, has been and probably since before he was even thawed. It's back when, I guess it was like when the war ended, and you always hear those stories of like Nazis being brought to NASA to help develop rockets and medicines and like all that kind of stuff. Well, the same thing kind of happened here, where all those Nazi scientists that were no longer had a job after the war was over, basically SHIELD absorbed them to try to get them to create technology for them and help them out. And doesn't mean they ever stopped being Hydra, sympathizers. They're still full on. And that's exactly what happened. All these people that SHIELD had absorbed into itself from the Hydra party are still Hydra, and basically they take over. And it's pretty fantastic. It's like it's got a ton of action in it. I'm not saying that it doesn't. It actually feels more like a 1970s kind of like investigative thriller, a little bit like a government thriller, kind of like 3 Days of the Condor, something like that. And I really like that aspect of it. But then when there is action, it is holy shit in your face. Like the whole causeway action scene is great. I love the piece of music they play over that. The big finale with the airships is fantastic. I absolutely love it. And they bring back Bucky as the Winter Soldier, who's been like brainwashed to be a Hydra soldier. He basically is a dark version of Captain America. I absolutely love it. I went and saw this with my ex, and we were both kind of like, I guess, lukewarm on the first one. And when it was over, we walked out of the theater. We're like, holy shit, that was fantastic. And how is that going to affect Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next week? And we found out because that was timed up with the following episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where just shit went haywire on that show. And that was where that show became like essential viewing for the rest of the first season, because the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was just kind of like meandering, and it was like a superhero version of the X-Files. And then all of a sudden the Hydra thing comes out, and then everything changes. And I'm like, wow. I remember everybody that was like, this show is boring as all hell. After that came out and the Hydra was exposed, everybody that I know that was like hating on it is now like, oh my God, this is awesome. They were just biding their time. And then we have the follow-up to that is Captain America Civil War. And this is essentially Avengers 2.5. And this is definitely a better Avengers movie than I thought Avengers 2 was. Because this is actually advancing a story and is also kind of contained, where Avengers Age of Ultron was trying to set up Phase 3 and nothing more. It wasn't really trying to tell a story. It was just trying to put its chess pieces in place on the board so that they can be moved around in Phase 3, which I did not like at all. And I was kind of worried about this one being the same way. Turns out this one was actually way better, I thought. So you have Baron Zemo showing up and trying to pit superhero against superhero. He's basically trying to break up the Avengers by like revealing secrets about certain characters within to make them start hating each other and fight amongst themselves. And it culminates in this big ass battle that takes place on an airfield in, I think, Germany. And it is fantastic. You get to see Ant-Man do something awesome that he hadn't done before, and he ended up doing for the rest of the movies that he was featured in and all that. You get to see Scarlet Witch do some rad ass stuff. Spider-Man shows up for the first time. Tom Holland. It's pretty fantastic. I think there's more Avengers in this than there were in the second movie, and it's pretty fantastic. I absolutely love this one. I don't like it as much as Winter Soldier, but this one is pretty awesome. And then we have another Marvel movie, and that is the original Captain Marvel. I'm not a big fan of this one either. This one is in 3D as well, like all of these are. So if you have noticed, like I said, with the original, this is the limited 3D edition of that. You can see up at the top, Blu-ray 3D of Captain America Winter Soldier, and at the top of the collector's edition, Blu-ray 3D of Civil War. This one I had to get from, I do believe, Korea. For some reason, at this point in time, I guess in America, they have stopped making 3D Blu-rays, at least regularly, when it comes to certain releases. So I had to get this overseas. And came in a really cool steelbook, which I think is actually better than the movie. Because you got her outfit design on the front, and then this like really cool shot of her at a hangar, I guess, from the beginning of the movie when she was the fighter pilot. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of this one. I like Brie Larson just fine. I just think that the way she was directed to act in the movie gave her character no personality. And the funny thing is, which I think is really strange about it, is She like emotes nothing in this movie. She is just deadpanning it almost the entire time. But all the other characters are constantly telling her your emotions are going to get in the way. You're too emotional. You got to rein that in. I'm like, where are you getting that from? Because she is just monotoning it the entire movie. Like, I don't see that. And I guess it was. I mean, I understand it was like they're trying to control her and all that. The Kree were trying to control her, but like, I don't think her character has a personality in this at all. And because of that, I could not connect with her, and I did not enjoy the movie. It has some fun action scenes, and seeing like a de-aged Samuel L. Jackson running around with her is pretty awesome once she comes to Earth. And like her powers are cool to see go down, and like I said, the action scenes are great. Seeing Sam Jackson or not Nicolas Cage, Nick. I keep on wanting to call him Nick Cage, Nick Fury. When he gets his eye scratched by a goose, and that's why he has a dead eye in the future movies, because this takes place in the 90s, is a pretty cool scene also. But like I said, I just could not get into this one because of the way the character is portrayed. I just thought it was boring. And then we have another Captain. Maybe that's why I have too many C movies. I got too many of them start with Captain. Captain Phillips. This is the Tom Hanks movie about the container ship that gets taken over by, I think there were Somali hijackers, and Tom Hanks is the captain, and he basically gets taken prisoner by the Somalis, and he's trying to survive. And I really didn't have any interest in seeing this when it was playing in the theater, but I think this came out right after my dad died, and we had gone to Ohio for the funeral, and my brother and I were just kind of like, we were there for like, I think a week in Ohio. And like, we just went to the theater. We're like, let's go watch something, take our mind off everything. And we went and saw this, and we're just like, yeah, that was awesome. My brother hadn't seen it either. He goes to see everything, but I absolutely loved it. It actually kind of brought me to tears a little bit at the very end when you see like Tom Hanks realizing he's being rescued. I was just like, oh. Paul Greengrass did this. He directed all of the Bourne movies except the first one, so it's got that shaky cam thing that he likes to do, kind of overload, but I think that's a great movie. And then we've got a couple of Studio Ghibli flicks. We've got Castle in the Sky. I don't think I've ever seen this one. It does not look familiar, but there was a point in time where I was considering buying all of the Ghibli movies. I was going to get every single one of them from this collection that was released by Shout Factory. And I want to say I did. I think I was like 2 or 3 away from having everything. But then I realized that like some of the later Ghibli films aren't that great. And they were starting to get really bad reviews. Like once Hayao Miyazaki? I always screw that name up. Hayao Miyazaki. Once he died and his son took over, the quality of the movie started to kind of drop a little bit. What's up, Retro Coop? And like I was buying these ones that had horrible ratings online, and like what was it, the Hedwig and the Angry Inch one or whatever it was called, or Hedwig something or other. And there was like 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, I'm probably never going to watch these, and they're taking up space that I'm running out of. I got rid of a lot of the ones I'm never going to watch, but I always remember hearing good things about this one, so I don't really know much about it. It just says it's a timeless story of courage and friendship with stunning animation from acclaimed Academy Award-winning director Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah, so eventually I'll get around to watching it. I have not seen this one either, and that is The Cat Returns. This is a pretty decent cast. Anne Hathaway, Cary Elwes, Peter Boyle, Elliot Gould, and Kristen Bell. Like I said, I don't know what this one is either, but this is one of the earlier ones that I have not seen, so I wanted to pick this one up as well. And I want to say I got this one off of eBay when I was going for the whole set. Here's one you either love it or you hate it. I love it, but I don't love the lead actress in it. I can't stand any of the movies she's in except for this one, and that is The Cell. I am not a fan of Jennifer Lopez. I think she's a terrible, horrible actress and a terrible, horrible human being. You see the shit you hear about her. She just sounds like she's so freaking entitled and spoiled. Ugh, I would never want to meet her in my life. And like I said, I think she's a terrible actress. And she's okay in this, I guess. But this one is all about the visuals. I do have that one, I think. No, Miyazaki died. His son is the one that's taken over the the studio. His son is the one that's kind of run it into the ground. So the whole idea behind this is Jennifer Lopez's character has developed this. She's like a psychotherapist. She's developed a way to actually get inside the mind of people. She can insert herself into your mind through like a combination of drugs and hypnotherapy and stuff. And there is also at the same time a serial killer that kidnaps women and drowns them and then does horrible things to their corpses, which they kind of show in graphic detail, which I'm not going to repeat, and then dumps their bodies once he's done. And the dude has kidnapped a new girl, and the guy has like a seizure that puts him in a coma. And they find the body, or they find him in a coma, but they don't know where he is keeping the girl that he's kidnapped. So they give his body to Jennifer Lopez to insert herself into his brain so she can possibly learn where the woman is being killed or held hostage. And the dude's mind is the craziest production design thing you've ever seen in your life. It is nuts. It is crazy CGI and set design and costumes. It is absolute insanity. The dude Tarsem Singh, who directed this, I think he did music videos before this, and it shows. It is absolute insanity. I've never seen anything like this before. And I remember we saw it in the theater, me and a bunch of friends for my birthday, and it creeped one of my friends out. I remember that, like, a lot. I don't think he even likes the movie because it creeped him out so much. But I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, the visuals are freaking amazing. It's just that it stars Jennifer Lopez in it, and I can't stand her. But it's got Vincent D'Onofrio and Vince Vaughn in it. Vince Vaughn feels a little out of place as well, but once he goes inside the dude's, the serial killer's mind, serial killer is Vincent D'Onofrio, he ends up doing some pretty cool stuff. But for the most part, it is just audio-visual overload, and I love it. Let's see. Let's do a little searchy search. If I only had something that could tell me the things I need to know. Oh, no, he is still alive. You're right. See, I thought he was dead. He must have just retired. Okay, my bad. I stand corrected. Yeah, I thought he died. Straight up. Okay, next up we have kind of a weird one. I like the guy who directed this, Neil Marshall. He directed The Descent, the one about the cave divers. The How about now? Does that work? Now, there he is. Okay. I don't know. I rebooted the computer and everything before I started, so I don't know what could have caused that. But anyway, yeah, I went to the YouTube channel, to my YouTube channel, and I was like, what happened? And I see that I was in the middle of saying like, and it just started repeating like. Well, then again, I do say like quite a bit, so it could have been me too. So anyway, I was talking about Centurion. Kind of bad quality. What the fuck? How's that? Does that sound better? It looked like it was, when I unplugged it, it was still doing my internal microphone for like the Mac and not my microphone. Does that sound better? Much better? Okay. Anyway, for the 27th time, Centurion was directed by Neil Marshall. He directed the reboot of Hellboy, The Descent, Doomsday, Dog Soldiers, a bunch of episodes of Game of Thrones, and I think he did this after Doomsday, before he did Game of Thrones. And it's like this action movie about a Roman soldier trying to get back home, and he ends up traveling through like territory that doesn't belong to him, and he just ends up under attack all the time. And it's okay. It's kind of cool. I like Michael Fassbender. It's like the first big action movie he was given after 300. 300 was the first time I ever saw him. And also has Dominic West and Olga Kurylenko, who was like in everything back then, even a Bond movie. And it's okay. It's just, it's cool. The action scenes are rad. It's just kind of like, all right. It's weird that I didn't get like a big theatrical release over here, because Doomsday was like a huge theatrical release, and then that just kind of went straight to video. Anyway, next up we have one of Kevin Smith's movies, and mine is still sealed. Is it like Dogma? Is it worth like $1 million? Chasing Amy. This is his third movie, Kevin Smith's third movie, and it still has the indie sensibilities. He went back to Miramax for this one, since the Weinsteins. Just saying their name makes me want to vomit a little bit. Gave him his first break, and then he ended up getting like a big offer from Universal to make Mallrats, but Mallrats kind of failed a little bit, so he went back to Miramax, and they gave him a decent budget, but he went back to like the indie roots, so he made another comedy. Obviously, that's pretty much all he does, but this one is like a romantic comedy that has Jay and Silent Bob in it. And it's funny. I like it. I remember the last time I saw it, I thought it was better than I remembered it being. I thought it was good when I first saw it in the theater, because I was a huge Kevin Smith fan. I mean, he felt like me with money, who actually made a movie in the place that he works. It feels like something I would have done if I would have thought of it first. But this one, like, I think it tries to cover too much. But for the most part, it's one of his better made movies. It even though it is indie and it looks indie, it doesn't feel indie. I like it. It's got a decent cast too. So Jason Lee, I thought he was just going to be like the new Jim Carrey after watching Mallrats, because all he did was scream his lines and act obnoxious. And then here, he kind of does a little bit of that, but for the most part, he's reined in, which I think is really good, because I ended up really liking Jason Lee later on down the road. Next up, we have a movie that I used to see on cable all the time when I was a kid in the 80s, and it is called Cherry 2000. So it takes place in the future, and you can buy robotic, like if you're a man, you can buy a robotic wife. If you're a woman, you can buy a robotic husband, kind of thing. And this one rich dude has bought this female robot, and she malfunctions. I think he spills champagne on her or something, and he wants to get her repaired, but the parts are no longer available because she was an older model. So he has to like venture outside the city, and outside the city, it's like apocalyptic wasteland kind of shit. It's like this lawless area, and he has to go and find parts that are available like in junkyards outside the city. And he ends up hooking up with this like scavenger type of person that's played by Melanie Griffith, who takes him looking for all the body parts that he needs for his robot woman. And by the end of the movie, the two of them are in love, and he's like, "Oh, I've made a connection with a real person. I'm not going to bang a toaster." I remember being pretty fun. Tim Thomerson's in it too. And I'll watch anything Tim Thomerson is in. But I just remember this being like the big break for Melanie Griffith. And I remember watching it every time I saw it on cable because I thought, like, anything sci-fi, I'll watch. What's a Nubian? What's up? What's up, Dan? Chasing Amy. Yeah, it's one of my favorites of his. Then we have Children of Men. This is by, what's his name? Alfonso Cuarón, the guy who did Harry Potter 3 and Gravity. I'm trying to think what else he did. I'm drawing a blank. This is another one of those post-apocalyptic movies. In this future, it's every woman is sterile. So we're basically going to die out as a race. And Owen Wilson. Clive Owen. Clive Owen is like a I don't know, what do they call it, like a tracker or something? And he's asked to escort the first pregnant woman that there has been in like 15, 20 years to like this area where she can be examined and find out why she's able to conceive and other women aren't. And a bunch of people are out to stop them, and it's crazy. There's this unbroken shot scene that takes place inside a freaking car. I don't know how they did it. Well, I saw how they did it. There's a documentary about the making of the shot. But I mean, like, it is so cool to see it happen. Where like the camera is like in the middle of the car where all these people are talking. It's Clive Owen, the pregnant lady, Julianne Moore, and I can't remember somebody else. And the camera is just like spinning around as everybody talks, and they play like a stupid little game with like throwing a ball back and forth. And then in the background, you can see this car come out of nowhere and just smash into the car. And there's a big car accident scene. It's really cool the way it worked. But and it also has kind of like a tearjerker ending. I really, really like this one. It kind of made me think. So had to have that. And then we have the weird ass. Whoever thought that making a found footage superhero movie would be a good idea? I would have never thought it would have been a good idea, but apparently it works because we got Chronicle. This is the dude who ended up directing the Fantastic Four movie that came out in the mid-2010s that everybody hated, that had Miles Teller in it and Kate Mara and Michael B. Jordan. And he got that movie based on the strengths of this. And this one does star Michael B. Jordan. This is the first time I ever saw him in a movie. Also the first time I ever saw, what's his freaking name? Dane DeHaan, who was in Valerian and that Metallica movie that came out a little while ago. Or not a little while, it's probably 10 years ago now. But yeah, a bunch of like high school kids find I think it was like a cave, and there's like an alien artifact in there, and it gives them all superpowers. And two of them use it for kind of like fun things and consider trying to use it to help people. While one of the kids has like a horrible home life, and having the powers, it like tempts him too much to like fix his problems, and he ends up going bad. So the other two try to stop him from doing horrible things with his powers, and it turns into this big epic thing. And the whole finale is captured with like cell phones as the fight is happening in the sky and in the streets, and people are filming it with their cell phones. It's pretty cool the way it works. I liked it a lot. I didn't think it would work. I did not go see it in a theater because I thought it was a dumb idea, because I was getting sick of the found footage BS. And then when it came out on home video, I rented it, I think from Netflix, the discs. And I was like, wow, that actually kind of worked. I'm surprised. And then, like I said, they made that guy an offer to make that Fantastic Four movie that nobody liked. And here's one of my favorites from childhood that I remember watching this on a UHF station, completely censored, but it didn't make it any less fun. And that is Chopping Mall, otherwise known outside of the U.S. as Killbots. Chopping Mall makes it sound like a slasher. This is not a slasher movie. So a bunch of early 20-somethings who work within this mall decide to stay overnight in the mall and have like a night of sex and partying and drinking and whatnot. And the mall has installed a new security system, which are these 3 robots that can zap you with like a taser gun and all that kind of stuff. And they have a claw they can grab you with so you can't escape if you're trying to run. But they get zapped with a lightning bolt and become evil. And then they go on a rampage with all these 20-somethings loose in the mall at night. It has one of the greatest exploding headshots in the history of film, as far as I'm concerned. It is super fun. Was it Carrie Maroney, who is in Night of the Comet, is in this, and she's the lead, like the final girl, and she is awesome. She freaking owns this. And when I went to visit my brother in L.A., we drove past the mall where they shot this, and he's like, "Hey, that's where they shot Commando and Chopping Mall." I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." But how are the sex scenes? There's barely any. Although it has Barbara Crampton in it, and she must have had a clause in her contract that she had to show off her tatas every freaking movie she was in, because she does here too. Next up we have, so I haven't seen this in a long time, so I don't know if I can talk much about it, because the last time I saw this was like in 2009, and this is another one of the movies I got off of Netflix when I was renting the discs, and that is City of God. It takes place in Brazil, and it has to do with like Brazilian gangs and stuff, and I remember it being pretty rad, which is why I bought it immediately after getting that copy from Netflix. I was like, I need to have that in my collection. I just have never felt the need to watch it again. Because like the more I think about it, I remember thinking about it, like going, that was actually kind of a rough movie. There's a lot of messed up stuff that goes on in it. This is the first time I ever saw Alice Braga in a film. She was in Predators and I Am Legend, and you still see her. She was in The New Mutants. I still see her in stuff all the time. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a really rough gangland movie. It's like the Brazilian version of like Goodfellas or New Jack City kind of thing. It was good. It's just rough. And every time I'm like, maybe I should start downsizing my collection, I always pick that movie out. But then I'm like, well, there was a reason I wanted this so bad. Like I bought it so quickly after watching it on Netflix. So I must have really, really liked this that much, and I just end up putting it back. Disappointed. No, you gotta do it like dude from Fury Road, Immortan Joe. You got mediocre. Here's one of my favorites from childhood. I watched this as a kid. It was Peter. Really, really, Peter. This is what you get, Peter. You've earned this.
I've been listening to that horse shit of yours for months. And you can take that crap and blow it out your ass.
I used that in my D&D game over the weekend when the guy that plays the bard in our group was just starting to really annoy me. Oh, man. Anyway, I remember my parents taking me to see this in the drive-in. This was the double bill. I'll talk about it again. I've talked about it before. But the double bill that we saw that night was Clash of the Titans, which is about Greek mythology, and Heavy Metal, which is an animated film with nothing but tits and ass in it. So my parents thought that was a great combo to take the kid. We're going to take him to see, the Greek mythology movie. He'll love it. And then the cartoon afterwards will be great too. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, my mom was a huge Greek mythology fan. It was like her favorite subject when she was a kid too. And she was like dying to see this. Plus she also had a crush on Harry Hamlin. So we went and saw it. And this was like, I think the last big movie that Ray Harryhausen, who used to do all of the stop motion effects for like, I guess in Hollywood for decades. I remember he did like Jason and the Argonauts back in the 60s and stuff. But he was like the master at that kind of thing. This was like the big finale to his career, especially when you talk about the Kraken and the Medusa scene. Holy shit. It covers a lot of ground. It's all about Perseus trying to save Cassiopeia, who's to be sacrificed to the Kraken in order to save, what is it, Joppa, I think is the name of the town or the city that's going to get destroyed, because the gods are pissed off. And Perseus is like the illegitimate son of Zeus. And Zeus ends up giving him a bunch of weapons. He gives him like a sword and a shield, and has a robotic owl who is basically a stand-in for frickin' R2-D2 come and help him in his task that all the other gods have set up. And it's pretty awesome. I absolutely love it. It still holds up. I mean, the stop motion stuff still looks great in high def. You wouldn't think it would, but it does. Especially, like I said, the Medusa and the Kraken. Even the Scorpion scene is still pretty rad. But I absolutely love it. It's one of my all-time favorites. Don't watch the remake. I do not. I am not a fan of that remake. They kind of took everything that was fun about that and just kind of like turned it into like CG overload. Like the Medusa scene isn't nearly as like scary. Like the Medusa scene in that one is legit kind of scary. The one in the new one is just kind of like this action scene instead of like a suspenseful, like, will they get killed kind of thing. You know they're not going to die in the new one. Anyway, we're talking about Chasing Amy. Now we're talking about Kevin Smith's first movie, and that's Clerks. This is the 15th anniversary edition. I was working at a video store when this came out. And my boss, so if anyone's ever worked at a video store, if you have to go through a distributor, obviously, to get the movies that you're going to put out for rental in your store. A lot of these distributors get preview tapes from the film companies to give to the video stores so they can watch one of their movies and decide how many copies of that movie they would like to purchase for the store. Especially the mom and pop ones would get these things. So we would get these boxes that would show up almost every other week from all the different movie companies, and it would have like 3 or 4 movies in it, like a preview tape. And the whole idea, like I said, you watch that movie, and based on what you thought, you would purchase how many copies you want. So my boss usually didn't have time for that kind of stuff. So because I was the big movie guy, he would just hand the box over to me every time the one would show up. And if it was a movie that I'd already seen, I would be like, I've already seen it. I think you maybe should buy this many copies. Well, the box he gave me this one week had Clerks in it. And I remember when I saw Pulp Fiction in the theater, the 3 times that I saw that in the theater, every single time I would see a trailer for Clerks with it. But I never actually saw it playing in any theater near me in Chicago or the Chicagoland area. So when I saw that Clerks was in that box, I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's check this out. And it was essentially my life. The life at that point in time in movie form. You know, working at a video store with the whole Randall thing. Like, I have dealt with each and every one of those things, even in the convenience store setting and all that. Working retail. I was working at Kmart before I was working at the video store and all that. So I related to every single thing in this movie on every level. So I was like, this movie was made for me. And then I started showing it to friends, and then they started loving it because they were relating to it too, because all of my friends were kind of working the retail kind of jobs at that point in time. So like it ended up becoming like an all-time favorite for all of my friends, every single one of them. We absolutely loved it. And I think it still holds up. I'm glad that they went back and reshot the ending, because the whole thing about Dante being shot by a thief at the end of the movie and dying didn't need to happen. The movie was kind of depressing enough with the stuff that kind of goes on in it already. You didn't need it to end on that kind of a downer. And we wouldn't have gotten... can't talk. We never would have gotten Clerks 2. No, the one that I still say is whenever I hear somebody say the number 37 out loud, I go, 37? Trying to suck any dick on the way to the car. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks in a row. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks in a row. So this is a movie I never thought would happen. I knew that Clerks was kind of a big hit, but it was not like a big commercial hit. I mean, it was well respected. It got great reviews. I don't remember it making a ton of money, but apparently it became such a huge hit on home video that the Weinsteins were kind of like, here's a couple $1 million, go make a sequel real quick. And I guess Kevin Smith really had to persuade the guy that plays Randall in this to come back, Jeff Anderson, to come back, because he really didn't want to do it. Throw enough money at him, I'm pretty sure it is. No, it was the story. He wanted to know what his character's story was to justify him coming back. And I guess it did it for him. So this one is still funny. I think it's awesome. I fell in love with freaking Rosario Dawson in this movie. She is adorable. And I can understand why Dante fell in love with her. The way her performance in this movie is fantastic. And it has a lot of great jokes and all that. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first movie, mostly because I've never worked in fast food. So that part of it, I don't really relate to very much, but I can still relate to all the stupid customer bullshit that happens in it. But yeah, and then there's always the gross out. It's almost like Kevin Smith's trying to outgross himself in each movie, and then this one he goes with bestiality. And all my friends are just kind of like, no. But it's still a great movie. I will never own a copy of Part 3, though, because I thought Part 3 was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Here's another one I didn't expect to like. The only reason I watched this was because Padme was in it, and that is Closer. So this is by Mike Nichols. Mike Nichols. Duh. And this is essentially just like a character study of relationships and all that. You have Jude Law, Julia Roberts, Clive Owen, and Natalie Portman. And it's like all these characters kind of like intersect at different points in their life and fall in love with other people from these groups and all that. It's really kind of strange. But the big thing about this that made me want to see it was Natalie Portman plays a stripper. And that's probably the main reason it's still in my collection. Stripper. And then we have this weirdness. This is Cloud Atlas. This is directed by not only the two Wachowskis, but also Tom Tykwer, who did Run Lola Run. And this is an adaptation of a pretty complicated book. It's almost like the way people used to describe Dune as being a book that was unfilmable. You could not turn Dune into a movie and make it make sense. The same kind of thing was being said about this, where Cloud Atlas was just so complex and covered so much like ground in its like in the book that you could not make it into a movie that makes any kind of sense. While there is some stuff in here that is still kind of like, I don't get that quite, is the way they're describing things and the way that things are unfolding is kind of like, I don't know if I buy that. But it covers like 6 different timelines with a bunch of different characters all played by the same group of actors. So in each timeline, you have characters being played by the same people, but sometimes the man might be playing a woman or a woman might be playing a man, or in between. It's really kind of strange, and it's really interesting, and I really like it. Tom Hanks is in it. Halle Berry. There's a huge cast. Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Jim Broadbent, Hugo Weaving, Jim Sturgis, Duna Bay, Ben Whishaw, James Darcy, Keith David, Susan Sarandon, Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant plays like this like wayfish guy in one timeline, and the next one he's playing in the far, far, far future. He's playing this like warlord that is like a cannibal. It's like, what? But I thought it pulled it off pretty well. The different timelines, each of them has like their own feel. You have one that's kind of like a 70s detective story kind of thing. You have one that's it takes place in an old age home, and it's almost like a slapstick comedy. But then you have this like futuristic one that is almost like The Matrix. That has to do with like artificial intelligence and robots, and then you have this far, far future that's like after like the world has ended kind of thing, and the remnants of humanity, are just like trying to survive. And then you also have another one takes place in the past on like a pirate ship. I know there's another one. There's like I said, there's like 6 timelines, and they all kind of intersect. It's really kind of interesting. I like it a lot. And then there's this. So I've talked about Canon Films quite a bit, or the Canon Group. They did the Break-In movies and the American Ninja movies and the Shokasugi Ninja films. They were just known for making like nothing but schlock in the late 70s and early 80s. But then mid-80s, they were like, we need to start upping our game. We need to start being taken seriously as a legit film studio. So we're going to start throwing a lot of money at projects and at big names and stuff like that. So they started off with Cobra by luring Sylvester Stallone in to play this character named Marion Cobretti, who's like a cop that doesn't take any shit. And it's probably one of the most edited to nothing movies I've ever seen. From what I understand, this movie was like just over 2 hours. Like the original cut of it was just over 2 hours. The guy who directed this, George P. Cosmatos, is a terrible director. He always has his movies taken away from him in the end. It was Rambo. He directed Rambo, First Blood Part 2. He directed Leviathan, Tombstone. He always ends up getting either kicked off of his movie by producers for not knowing what the fuck he's doing, or in like after the movie is shot, the producers take the movie away from him in the editing suite and edit the movie together. So I guess Cosmatos had filmed this like ultra-violent action movie, and when the producers saw it, they're just kind of like, oh no, this is going to get like an X rating. We need to like cut this down. So they cut this 2-hour movie down to like 80 minutes. It goes by so fast, you don't even realize it's about to end when it gets to that point. It is a pretty cool cover. I really like it. We ended up watching this for my podcast, the movie starting with Power Metal Gamer, who lives in Ireland. I can't talk. He lives in Ireland. So, like, we ended up having to record with him. I think in Ireland, when we recorded with him, it was like 3 a.m, and it was like 6 p.m. here or something like that. It was crazy. But it's a fun action movie. It has nothing to it. It is kind of just like, I'm going to just blow people away with my crazy shotgun and my laser scoped machine gun. And that's all that there is in the movie. It's basically, there's this gang that goes around LA just murdering random people because they can. And Brian Thompson, who you've probably seen in 500 million movies, he played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He's like the leader of the gang. And he's like, oh, we're going to kill all the weak people because the strong need to survive. And Cobretti's the guy that's supposed to be taking this gang down. And one night while they're killing somebody, Bridget Nielsen, who ended up marrying Stallone, is driving home from like a modeling gig that she was on, and she sees them murdering somebody and sees the face of Brian Thompson. So now they're after her, and she's the only witness that's ever seen any of these people that are in this cult, and Cobra's trying to protect her from them. And it's just basically this nonstop action scene, just shoot all the time. And it's not great, but it is fun. You haven't watched it yet? Like I said, it's entertaining. Just don't expect anything deep. Like I said, it is just shoot, bang, bang. There's a joke. If you've ever seen Tango and Cash, that's that Stallone movie with Kurt Russell. Because Bridget Nielsen is Danish, and they had this horrible divorce. I want to say they were only married for like 2 or 3 years, and they had this like horrible divorce. And then when Stallone did Tango and Cash, there's a line that he inserted into the movie when Tango and Cash are escaping the prison that they've been put in, and Kurt Russell says something to Stallone along the lines of, well, when we get out of here, we can go and get a coffee and a Danish. And Stallone goes, I hate Danish. That wasn't directed at his ex-wife. Anyway, here's a very, what I think is a very underrated horror movie. You fell asleep trying to watch it. Yeah, this is, I think, a very underrated horror movie, and I had no expectations for it. I didn't even go to see it in the theater. I remember seeing it on billboards all over the place to and from my way to work. And it was always being touted as from the writers of Saw, what was it, 4, 5, and 6? Yeah, from the writers of Saw 4, 5, and 6. And I'm like, that's not a great pedigree right there. The only, out of those 3 movies, the only one I really liked was the 6th one, because that was the only one that was trying to say something and not just be torture porn. So I'm kind of like, I don't need to see that. And when it came to home video, I rented it, I think at the Redbox right over here. And I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Like, I'm kind of mad at myself for like skipping over it in the theater, because I probably would have really liked to see that on the big screen. And that's The Collector. So this was like the start of a franchise that has not kept going, surprisingly. So there's like this rich family that's going out of town, and this construction worker that is there to work on their house while they're gone ends up breaking into the house at night once they're gone to try to rob the house, because he owes back payments and alimony and all this kind of stuff. And he's trying to get money for his daughter. But it turns out that he's not the only person that's broken into this home that night. There's also this like serial killer who sets traps for the people that live in the house and just watches them die in horrible ways. And he ends up getting caught up in it, and he did not expect it. And it is really cool. The traps are rad. The kills are great. It has a fantastic soundtrack, and it has a really cool twist in it that I absolutely loved. And I was like, I cannot wait to see the sequel to this that they're obviously setting up, because you cannot end a movie like that without there being some sort of a follow-up. And the follow-up disappointed me to the extreme. And they show you, the thing that pisses me off the most is they whitewash the character in the second movie. So in here, there's another construction worker working on the house that they set up earlier on that is like I think the guy is like Venezuelan. And he was in Crocodile Dundee 2. He was one of the bad guys. He was like the second in charge of the drug runners that were after Dundee in that movie. The tall one who kind of had a ponytail. And they set up him as like he's also one of the construction workers, and you can tell it's him in that house at night and that mask setting all these traps. But then when they made the second movie, they like turned it into some generic looking white guy. And I was like, why did you recast it with somebody else? That makes no sense. The guy has a totally different build too. The guy, the Venezuelan guy, has like he's really lanky build, and it's like Doug Jones from Star Trek Discovery, the guy who plays Saru. He's like really lanky and like the weird proportions, and he's really scary looking. And it's like his body language is great. And then now we just have like this guy that looks like Jason Voorhees running around with the mask on. But this was the one that I really, really enjoyed. Second one, The Collection, not so much. But that was kind of left open for a sequel too, and they were talking about making a third one. It just never happened. So next up is Colossal. And this one has a lenticular cover, so that looks like a big-ass kaiju, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's really Anne Hathaway. Hey, now! So this is another one that I heard about, and the descriptions that I was reading online made no sense to me. I was like, is it a kaiju movie, or is it like some sort of a drama? Like, I don't understand. And it was really low budget. She made this after she won her Oscar for Les Mis. And I was like, okay, she wants to do like a little indie movie. Okay, whatever. But why does it have like this big CGI monster in it? Like, I don't understand. So it ended up popping up on Hulu when I still had Hulu. And I watched it, and it's really good. So Anne Hathaway is this woman who comes back to her hometown. She's been in nothing but abusive relationships her whole life, especially with her parents. And she hooks up with this guy that she knew from school when she was, from the hometown. And it's Jason Sudeikis. And it turns out he's like an abuser too. But the thing is, whenever Anne Hathaway is on this playground that she used to play in when she was a kid, and she gets emotional, whenever she sets foot in there, a kaiju that is like the representation of all of her anger manifests itself in like Korea. It was either Korea or Japan. I can't remember. And when she moves her arms, when she's talking at somebody, she's screaming, the monster's doing the exact same things on the other side of the world and destroying things in the process. And I thought it was a really interesting take on that kind of a thing. I really, really liked it. And then I remember last time I talked about this, 8-Bit Glitch was like, that sounds rad. I'm like, yeah, it's like part relationship drama, like trauma drama. The poet didn't know it. And then also as a part kaiju movie. It's really strange, but it really works. I liked it quite a bit. That's one of those things you would never expect Anne Hathaway to show up in, but when you watch it, it kind of makes sense. Here is the movie that started 3D, or started the 3D movement to make a comeback in the early 80s. And I had never heard of this before getting into collecting 3D Blu-rays. So there were the ones that I saw when I was a kid, and we went and saw a lot, like Jaws 3D. We saw Treasure of the Four Crowns, Star Chaser, Space Hunter. I'm trying to think. There was a bunch of horror of like sci-fi and fantasy like 3D movies, but the one that kicked it off was the same people that made Treasure of the Four Crowns. This is the movie they made before Treasure of the Four Crowns, and that's called Coming At Ya. And I talked about this in my 3D Blu-rays to watch on your PSVR. And I had this as, I think, my number one in the second video. So this is a Western, and it is, don't get me wrong, it is very badly acted. The people in this were basically going for, let's just throw as much 3D stuff at your face as we possibly can. Who cares what it is? We'll shoot bullets at the screen and show the bullet coming at you in slow motion. We'll throw like sickles and stuff like that and throw hay bales and stuff at you. We'll put a baby's ass in your face, which is something that happens. We'll drop coffee beans on the camera and stuff like that. It's just like anything they possibly could do to have something poke you in the eye, they would do it. They didn't care what it was. They were just trying to make it look cool. But the cool thing is that even though I'm not a big fan of Westerns, they do some rad cinematography stuff in here too. By some stuff is in black and white with certain aspects of the shot are still in color. Like if there's an explosion, the shot is black and white, but the explosion is still in color. Dude gets shot. The shot is black and white, but the blood is in color. I don't know how the hell they did it. Probably double exposures or something. But it is pretty cool when you see it go down and in 3D. So I was like blown away by what I was seeing. It kind of took me by surprise. So this has the 2D and the 3D version in it, and it stars a dude named Tony Anthony, which is the worst absolute name in the history of Hollywood names. Tony Anthony. That's Tony. Or Anthony. Anyway, did not have any clue about what this was about. Sat down and watched it, and I was like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. How often Dr. Sattler's button your... I saw that in IMAX 3D with my ex. So we're talking about Cobra being this mindless action movie that's just nothing but bullets flying around and gore. Arnold had one of those too. It was called Commando. And this is one that my parents let me watch. Like I said, not allowed to watch horror movies growing up. Not at all. But if it was an action movie and it was rated R, it was fine. We were able to watch The Terminator, Commando, Rambo, any of that kind of stuff. It was no big deal. And I remember having an argument with my parents saying, like, why can't I watch a Friday the 13th movie? They're like, that movie is so violent. I'm like, have you seen Commando? They're like, yeah, but that guy kills people with a machete. I'm like, Schwarzenegger cuts a guy's arm off with a machete in Commando. He throws a saw blade like a frisbee and scalps a guy. And you see his skull. I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? I'm like, like, I don't understand. And that's all this movie is. It is just a bunch of crazy action scenes that I absolutely love. Like, we watch this all the time. Like, I was talking about Chopping Mall. My brother took me to the mall, or drove me past the mall, where they shot Chopping Mall, and they shot this, or the mall scene in this. So Schwarzenegger's like a retired Marine, I want to say. And he's being talked in, or his superior is trying to talk him into coming out of retirement. And during that, his daughter gets kidnapped by a bunch of people who want him to assassinate the president of this made-up country, so this dude can put himself in power. And if he doesn't kill the president of that country, this guy, Schwarzenegger's daughter, is going to get killed. And he basically says, the hell with you, and I'm going to go and kill you instead. And it's basically his trip to get to where the bad guys are to rescue his daughter and just murder as many people as he possibly can along the way. It is kind of fantastic. I absolutely love this one. Schwarzenegger still proves that he can't act for a damn in that. He just deadpan the whole movie, but, you know, whatever. He's fun to watch, and that's probably why I like his movies so much. Then we have the first two films in the Conjuring series. So these are by James Wan, the guy who created Saw, did the first Saw movie, created the Insidious films, directed the two Aquaman movies, and Furious 7. He's gotten around. And this one I think is absolutely fantastic. It's actually pretty scary. Why it's rated R, I don't know. There's maybe like 2 scenes with blood in it, and I think it's just the tone is so bleak and dark. But it's about these 2 people that hunt ghosts for like the Vatican. They're based on real life people who are asked to investigate a haunting at this house out in the like a rural area. And it turns into a possession kind of situation, which is pretty rad. And the thing is, when I saw this in the theater, me and my ex went to go see it. And there's this scene that's right here on the cover with, oh God, what's her freaking name? Lily Taylor, who I don't think is a great actor, but she's pretty good in this, though. Every time I think of Lily Taylor, I immediately think of The Haunting that came out like in '99 with Liam Neeson and how awful she was in that movie. So I always... You say Lily Taylor, and it's the first thing that pops into my head. I'm like, oh, gosh, she sucks. But no, actually, she's not that bad in other movies. So she's investigating this sound she keeps hearing in her basement. And it's a very effective scene. It's shot very well. It's spooky. You don't really see much beyond what her match is illuminating, and you can see there's something behind her. And there's these hands that come out and clap. And the thing is, as she's walking down the stairs and those hands come out and clap, we lost power in the theater. All the power went out. And everyone starts booing, and like the emergency lights come on, and we're all like, what the hell? And then like the manager comes out, and he's like, we're going to have the movie. Like once the power comes back on, we'll have the movie back up and running. He's like, if you want to stick around, we're not going to delay. You know, we'll delay the next showing because of this, obviously, if the power even comes on at all. Because you can either wait for the movie to start back up once the power comes back, or we can give you all a free pass for another movie sometime because this, you know, we apologize. So my girlfriend and I were like, yeah, we'll wait. who knows how long this lasts. And I remember like going, if it lasts longer than 15 minutes, we'll go. And she was like, all right, fine. Well, like 10 minutes later, the power comes back on. But the thing is, the projector didn't turn back on, but the sound did. So all of a sudden, we're hearing this scene play out, and it was basically spoilers. And we could hear everything going on. We could tell what was going on. And we were just like, what the hell? And everyone in the theater is like going like, what the fuck? So basically, we walked out of the movie, got a free ticket. And I think we went and saw... No, that was when I saw Star Trek. We got a free ticket and we went on our way. Okay, so then my brother comes into town from LA the next week, and I'm like, hey, I kind of didn't get a chance to finish The Conjuring last week. You got anyone interested in seeing it? My brother's like, I haven't seen it yet. Let's go. So we went, and I'm like, okay, I've seen it up until this point. After this, it's all new. And that scene, this whole scene plays out. It is so freaking crazy. I absolutely love this movie and its sequel, The Conjuring 2, which is based on the Enfield haunting, which is a true story. And the whole thing about this girl in England possibly faking a haunting to get attention because her whole family was like dirt poor. And it was like they're trying to get attention so they can get money. And it was like a fake haunting. And this movie kind of tries to cover that. Turns out in the movie it's really haunted. But in reality, I think it was proven that it was a fake. But this also introduces The Nun, that got her own spin-off series, which are freaking horrible, if you ask me. I absolutely hate them. They serve no purpose because this movie takes place in the 70s. Those nun movies take place in like the 40s and 50s. So you know that nun character ain't going to die in any of those movies because she's alive in this one. So they serve no purpose. Just pisses me off. It's annoying. I hate it. I don't like it. But anyway, now we have Constantine. We're supposedly getting a sequel to this within the next year or two. But this is, I think, one of Keanu's most underrated big budget movies. It's based on a comic book called Hellblazer. The name was changed because it's too close to Hellraiser. But the main character in the comic book that this is based on, his name is John Constantine, so they just called it Constantine. And the character in the comic books is British and blonde, but they decided to cast Keanu Reeves because of The Matrix. And it's a religious... I'm not religious personally, but I really like religious thrillers, especially when there's like interesting takes on it and stuff like that. Like the Prophecy movies, like stuff like The Conjuring, and all that. So this is like a really interesting take where Keanu Reeves' character, he died when he was a kid, and when he came back, he had the ability to see the dead and kind of communicate with them a little bit. And he became like a paranormal investigator who helps people that are having issues with either heaven or hell. And there is a woman who is destined to give birth to the Antichrist, and he's trying to stop it. And both heaven and hell are there to either trying to make it happen or make it stop. It is really interesting. It is visually pretty awesome. Francis Lawrence directed this. It was his first big movie. He ended up directing pretty much all the Hunger Game movies. He directed everything from the second one on. The only one he didn't direct was the first one. He directed every one of them after that. He also directed the I Am Legend movie with Will Smith. So this made him kind of like a name in Hollywood. And I think it's great. I love the visual style of it, the weaponry that he uses, the twists on like Catholic and Christian lore is really interesting, and the performances are great, Keanu aside. He looks like he's having fun, though, I'll give him that. But like Peter Stormare as the devil in this is fantastic. You can tell he is having a freaking ball playing Satan. But I absolutely love it. Although Gavin Rossdale from Bush is in it, and he's like, it's like, no. Why would you think you needed to move to Hollywood to become an actor? You suck. You suck, bro. Here's one that I got from the Disney Movie Club. So I've talked about this before. I talked about it in my stream on Tuesday, in my pickup stream, that like the Disney Movie Club is closing. The reason I got into it was they had a bunch of exclusive Blu-rays you could only get through them, but you had to sign up for this contract situation, kind of like Columbia House. And like to start off, they'll give you 4 movies for 25 cents each. But after that, you have to buy a certain amount of full-priced movies in order to fulfill your contract. Well, one of the ones that I really wanted to get my hands on was Cool Runnings. So this is based on a true story of the Jamaican bobsled team that went to the Winter Olympics, and I think it was like in '88 or something. I don't remember the exact year. But it's a really funny comedy that I've always enjoyed ever since I never saw it in the theater. I saw it on home video. And it was one of those movies where after I saw it, I was like, I wish I went and saw this in the theater. I really do. But all the actors that play the Jamaican bobsled team are fantastic. There's only two, I guess three familiar stars. Well, you have Dougie Doug, who is probably the most famous. Then you have Leon, who was in Cliffhanger, and then you have Malik Yoba, who I think was on True Calling or one of those police procedural shows. Hey, Sanka, what you smoking? Sanka, you dead? Yeah, man. But quoting this movie, you can quote like crazy. John Candy is fantastic in it. I think this is the movie he made right before he died. He had shot other movies before this that came out after he died, but this is the movie he shot, and then like right after he shot it, he died, which is kind of sad. But it's a really funny movie. I like all the characters. It's one of my favorites from like the 90s. Like, that's right! Like that. I see pride, I see power, I see him, a badass mother who won't take no crap off of nobody. That's right! Talked about this 2 months ago in my recent pickups, and that's Copycat. I got this from the Disney Movie Club. A serial killer movie. It's from Fox. That's why they had it, because Disney owns Fox now. And because of the movie club closing, they had like this deal where buy one full price movie, everything you buy after that is like 60% off. So I bought The Incredibles 2 on 4K, and I ended up getting The Sword in the Stone on Blu-ray and this, and they were like $6 each after that discount. So it's a thriller that is kind of a ripoff of Silence of the Lambs. It has Sigourney Weaver, Holly Hunter, Dermot Mulroney, and Harry Connick Jr., of all people, playing the killer, or one of the killers. So Sigourney Weaver is like this profiler who is at the beginning of the film giving a dissertation or whatever about one of her books about profiling. And Harry Connick Jr.'s serial killer character is like obsessed with her, and I guess has been sending her letters saying he wanted to kill her and all that. Well, he makes an attempt on her life at this symposium she's at, and almost kills her in the bathroom. And the attack makes her severely agoraphobic. She is absolutely afraid to go out into the world. So they like flash forward a few years. Harry Connick Jr. is in jail now because of the attack, and she has basically holed herself up in her high-tech house, writing books and doing like online psychotherapy sessions and stuff like that. And there's a copycat out there that is trying to recreate the killings of other serial killers, and he's moving toward copying the attempted murder of Sigourney Weaver's character that Harry Connick Jr. did at the beginning of the movie. So he's going after Sigourney Weaver. The police come to her because of her history working with serial killers and stuff, and they attempt to get her out of the house, but it doesn't really work. But it's actually a really good thriller. I saw it in the theater at a dollar theater that had just opened in my hometown. Like I've brought it up before, we went and saw a different movie at this theater every day that week for like Monday through Friday. Each day we saw a different movie for $1. It was Copycat, Usual Suspects, Get Shorty, Braveheart, and some other movie I can never remember what the hell it was. Must not have been good because I can't remember the name. Never can. But it's a pretty cool movie. I like it a lot. And then we have another 3D one, and that is Coraline. This is one of the Leica stop-motion animation films. Coraline was, I think, their first big one. They had mostly worked with Tim Burton before, I do believe, doing like Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach, I do believe. And then Coraline was their first independent one where they had nothing to do with Tim Burton. Yeah, from the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, because the guy who directed this directed that. Tim Burton produced it. Then they did Paranorman, and then they did my favorite, which is Kubo and the Two Strings. But this one is actually pretty fantastic. It's like a goth. It's based on a children's book, I do believe, but it's like this gothic thing. And me and a friend went and saw this in 3D opening night, and it kind of blew both of our minds. Like this is a kids movie. It's dark as hell, but the 3D worked really well. 3D with the stop motion, because of the way they're filmed, with the backgrounds and all that, it works really well in 3D. And I was surprised to find a 3D, because I had a 2D version of this that came with like a 3D version on the disc, which was basically a purple and green pair of glasses that you had to wear, and I cannot do that kind of 3D at all. It breaks my brain. So to see an actual 3D Blu-ray, like the real 3D, when I was out, I think I got this when I was out game hunting with Rocket Sauce. The first time I went out game hunting with Rocket Sauce in Wisconsin, I found this at like Mega Media Store, I think it was called, and I was super thrilled to do that. I got rid of that other one as soon as I got home. This one I keep avoiding buying the 4K because I hear that it doesn't look all that great, but I might upgrade. I don't know. But it's The Craft, another one of my favorites from the 90s. This is the Witch movie with Nev Campbell from Scream in it, and Fairuza Balk, and Robin Tunney, and True. What's her name? Rachel True. And who else was in this? What's his name? Skeet Ulrich is in it too. So Nev Campbell and Skeet Ulrich were in 2 movies like back to back together. And it's actually a really fun like witch revenge movie. So it's like a group of outcast girls. They practice the Wiccan religion, and they end up becoming like a coven. They end up actually getting powers, and one of them kind of takes it a little too far and kind of takes 2 of the other group members with them to the dark side, and the other one is trying to stop the 3 bad girls from using their powers for bad, and it ends up being pretty cool. I really like this one. We saw it in the theater, me and my buddy Charlie, and I've liked it ever since. It's kind of a cool soundtrack too. 90s like goth alt soundtrack, and they used that song. What was it? How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. They played it in that movie in The Craft, and then they ended up using it as the title song for Charmed, which is about a coven of witches. The original guys. Original. Then we have Creepshow 2, which is the lesser sequel to Creepshow. Don't get me wrong, I love the first Creepshow. It is absolutely fantastic. I love it, love it, love it. I have it on 4K. Creepshow 2 is still cool. It's just, it's not nearly as fun. I don't think Romero or Stephen King had any... I think Stephen King might have written one of the short stories, but I don't think Romero really had anything to do with this one. George Romero, who directed the original. Oh, no, it says screenplay by George Romero, but some other dude directed it who I've never heard of. I did not realize that Romero actually did this. But where Creepshow had 5 stories, this one only has 3. Each of them is like 20 minutes long. No, probably 25 minutes long, because the movie's just barely 90 minutes. And there is a wraparound where there's a little kid who is who's a paper boy. It's shown through animation, who's getting bullied by the neighborhood bullies on his bike route, and he finds one of the Creepshow comic books in the trash, and finds the ad for man-eating plants in it, kind of like Venus flytraps, but like giant ones that are flesh eaters, like human flesh eaters, and he ends up buying them and luring the bullies into a junkyard where he's been growing the plants, and they eat the bullies. But the 3 stories here, one is called Old Chief Woodenhead, which is about this wooden statue outside of a general store out in the middle of nowhere, who comes to life when the owners of the store are killed by a bunch of thugs, and the statue goes after them and kills them. Then you have the one called The Raft, which is about a bunch of teenagers out in the middle of a lake, and there's like this toxic sludge that's at first they show it kind of eating the seagulls and stuff, but it eventually goes after the humans, and it is nasty. There is some nasty shit in that one. You get to watch somebody melt. And then you have The Hitchhiker, which I think is kind of funny, where this entitled rich woman runs over a hitchhiker, and then his corpse keeps coming back to taunt her until it drives her crazy. And every time you see him, it's kind of like the kid from Better Off Dead, who's like, "I want my $2," but the undead hitchhiker keeps on going like, "How about a ride, lady? How about a ride?" It's kind of funny. I like it. It's fun. It's just not nearly as awesome as the original Creepshow. And then we're not even going to talk about Creepshow 3. It does not exist. Nope. Next up is Crimson Rivers. This is the French ripoff of Seven. It's been forever since I saw this. So this came out in 2000, which is probably the last time I saw it. I rented it from Blockbuster. I remember that. So this has Jean Reno and Vincent Cassel in it, 2 of the biggest stars in France at the time, directed by Matthew Kassovitz, who directed, Gothica, with Halle Berry in it. It came out like in the mid 2000s. But he was also an actor at one point. He was the guy in The Fifth Element who tried to rob Bruce Willis at the beginning of the movie by wearing a hat that looked like a hallway. And like, give me the cash. That's the guy who directed this. So it's like a religious, it's a cop procedural, kind of like Silence of the Lambs, but it's like a religious thriller thing that's going on. I don't remember what it was because, like I said, it's been forever since I've seen it. I'll just read the back. When Commissioner Pierre Niemans, who is Jean Reno, France's leading serial killer investigator, is called to examine a grisly murder, he enters a world of secrets, lies, and unthinkable horrors. The dead, whose hands and eyes have been removed, are clues to a terrible tradition of killer, a horrible tradition the killer can no longer bear. Each murder means something more. Each victim, a guilty conspirator in a grand immoral experiment. Filled with blood-chilling suspense, twisted turns, and breathtaking locations in the French Alps, this tense thriller has the style, action, and intelligence to keep you wondering what's really happening right up until its shocking conclusion. Like I said, I remember it being like this religious thing that's going on, and it has to do with, I think, the Catholic Church, if I remember right. But I need to watch it again because, it's like I said, it's been forever since I've seen it. But I remember really liking it, and then I saw it pop up on the Kino Lorber website on sale. So I was just like, I'll grab that one. I remember liking it a lot. We'll see what's up. Give me the cash! Here's one of my favorite Tony Scott movies, mostly because of Hans Zimmer's score. That is Crimson Tide. So one of my friends refused to watch this because, according to him, the perfect submarine movie was Hunt for Red October. He didn't need to see any other movies that involve submarines ever again, because that just was the one. So I remember having to talk him into watching this, and he was like, okay, I was wrong. So it's Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman, and they get cut off when they're on a test, or like, what is it, like a practice run in the ocean? They get cut off from home base, I guess. I don't know what to call it. And the last thing that they had gotten was a message that said that some Soviet country was arming their rockets, and then the transmission gets cut off. So they don't know if they should launch their rockets to retaliate or not and wait for like the full orders. And it's like a battle between the captain and the XO as to which one is right. Do we wait or do we fire? And it's like this big, tense cat and mouse game between the two of them trying to take control of the sub. And it is fantastic. I absolutely love it. I really like the lighting because all the rooms in the submarine look the same. You know, I recognize that it would be very hard to tell, like, when you want to cut between somebody who's in like the radar room or the room where they launch the torpedoes or whatever, or they launch the nukes, compared to like the bridge. The way that they do that is by color coding the rooms with the lighting. So the radar room is like blue and green, and the what's it called? The torpedo room is like red and blue, and the bridge is like bright white. So whenever they cut between all the different people talking to each other on the sub, you know exactly where you are by the lighting scheme, which I thought was great. Next up, we have an indie movie, which I loved and should never have been turned into sequels or prequels or any of the stuff that happened to it. But that is Cube. This is a Canadian movie that stars Nicole DeBoer, who played Ezri Dax on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and what's his freaking name? David Hewlett, who played, I cannot remember the name of the doctor, but he was like the arrogant doctor, the arrogant scientist character on Stargate Atlantis, and a bunch of other actors. So a bunch of people wake up in this room, and they don't know who they are. They don't really have any memory of what was going on before that. They're just like locked in this like lighted room, and there's a door on the ceiling, a door on the floor, and a door on each of the four walls. And when they go through a door, it is just another room exactly like the one they're in. It might be a different color, but the rooms are trapped sometimes, and there's really no way to discern which ones are trapped. And like people just start dying one by one. It turns out it's like this really sick experiment that you don't really know why these people have been chosen for this. That's why they made the sequels, to kind of explain it, but it didn't need explaining. It's kind of like Michael Myers. We didn't need an explanation as to why he's killing people. It was just scary that he was, and there was no reasoning behind it. And he just targeted these specific people. and that he's like silent and he never talks and he just walks whenever he wants to kill somebody. He never runs. He's just emotionless. There's no reason behind what's shown in this movie, and that's what I think makes it interesting. And then they ruin it with all the sequels. It's very well shot. It was obviously very low budget because all they would do is reuse the same room over and over again, just change the lighting scheme in the room. So the one they start in is like yellow, and then the next room they go into is bright white, the next one they go into is blue, and then the next one is red. It's interesting. I like it a lot. Very well made, very well acted, very well written, but made for a very low budget, which it shows, but I like that. Is that ripped? Yes, that is. That is some bullshit. And the last movie I'm going to talk about tonight is from the Criterion Collection, and I've only seen this movie once. I saw it in the theater, and I haven't watched it since. And I remember finding this really cheap at Half Price Books. That is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, or as Smosh would call it, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So it's by David Fincher, one of my favorite directors. I've seen pretty much all of his movies in the theater. I accidentally missed a couple of them because I could never seem to get out to go see them. But did Seven, did Alien 3, he did the remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He's won an Oscar. He did Gone Girl, Social Network. Seven, The Game. Yeah, I think I've liked what's it called? Zodiac. So the idea behind this, I think this is based on a book. So it's about somebody who ages backwards. So Brad Pitt plays this character who's born as a baby, but the baby is like an old man. It looks like a shriveled up old man. And then as that person grows, they get younger in appearance instead of older. So they're like aging in reverse. Like I said, their body grows, but their skin gets, tighter. And, and then by the end of the movie, they may be like an adult, but they are essentially have the brain of a baby kind of situation. It is really kind of interesting. The effects are really, really good to like de-age and age Brad Pitt in certain ways. It's a love story, which is really kind of strange, but like I thought it was fascinating. Just the way they made the movie is great. And that's why I like this Criterion Collection, because they basically focus on like the way they did the effects, the approach that they took and everything. I think it's a fantastic movie. I need to watch it again. It's been so long since I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it since the theater. And that came out in 2007 or something. Something around there. I don't remember. So that is it for my movies that start with the letter C. So I'll be back next week with D and possibly E. Or is it going to be just D? I think it might just be D and then we'll be E and F. I was actually looking at my collection this morning and I was just kind of like, okay, how am I going to parse this out? Do I have enough movies to cover a stream with D? I think I do, but I don't have enough in E or F, but combined it would be okay for one stream. So I think it's going to be just D next time. D's nuts! So thank you everybody for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it, especially since I've done 2 streams this week. If you haven't checked out my Jesus, I can't freaking talk. My Midwest Gaming Classic and C2E2 peak pickup stream from Tuesday. Go ahead and check that out. I got some epic shit. And then I'll be back next week with the next film collection live stream for the letter D, 8:30 p.m. Central, Thursday. Hope you can be there as well. I will talk to you all later. And there's a little sneak peek I might give you. I'm thinking about, I don't know if I brought this up on Tuesday or not, but I did like a test shoot of this new thing I'm talking about doing called The Breakdown, to go along with like a midlife crisis thing. The Breakdown would be like these really short videos, like actual edited videos. I'm thinking about going back to that, of me just talking about something from pop culture, be it movies, games, books, comic books, music, whatever, that I find interesting at that particular moment in time. And I'm filming it with 2 cameras. So it's not just me looking at you like that. There might be one from the side looking at me. So I don't know if I'm going to go through with it. I did like I said, I did a test run the other day, and I thought it came out okay. I'm probably not going to use it though. But keep an eye out for that. That might be a thing. But outside of that, I will hopefully see you all next Tuesday. Have a good night, everybody. I will talk to you later. Stay safe out there. See you next time.
You really are the most devious bastard in New York City.
Well,
I just realized what screwed up the stream earlier when the sound went crazy was when I went and did that search for the Hayao Miyazaki stuff. So sometimes I've noticed that sometimes when I do other things on my computer at the same time I'm streaming, it screws everything up. So I apologize about that. Hopefully next time I won't do that because I'm not dumb.